Beth and I want to thank you all for coming out for our 38th anniversary. We've decided that from now on we're going to be 39 from now on because we can't afford a 40% discount, so we're going to have to stay being 39 like Jack Benny for the rest of our career. But everything is 30% off today after the reading. There's food over there. Deepak and his family have brought samosas and chai, and there's some other, local has provided a bunch of other food, and don't get up now and go, because people will take your seats if you do that. So we're, this semester, this school year, this charming family showed up all of a sudden, and the wife of the family was teaching at Bowdoin, and the husband of the family was kind of all around town. We kept seeing him at the bakery and down the street and all around town. And he started coming here, and we started introducing him to everybody we knew. And it's been such a pleasure to meet Deepak and his family. And in the last week, University of California has published Deepak's new book. And so we thought, what a great combination of having Deepak here, having all this bullshit from our leaders about immigrants and refugees. So we thought, well, let's do something celebratory about welcoming people, because that's how we feel about this. And Deepak's book really is about an immigrant coming to the United States from another country, already having an MBA and showing up in the United States, and all of a sudden working not a very good job, and observing really intelligently the people around him who have already been here for a long time, who are struggling with their own lives with the jobs that they're working. And it's just a really funny and interesting and insightful, wonderful book, and I'm so happy to meet Deepak. He's also, the Portland paper had him write, he went to Bombay Mahal and wrote a review of Bombay Mahal, which some of you may have seen, and he didn't like the music. Other than that, and he has soon coming out in the Bowdoin magazine, they took Deepak on a winter camping trip, which he made. We almost lost him. We're glad to have him back, because apparently it was the coldest he'd ever been, and he was worried. He kept checking. He told me he kept checking the door to make sure it was locked so the bears wouldn't come in and eat him. So we're really glad that the bears haven't eaten him, and he can be here today. And thank you for coming, Deepak.
Very nice introduction. Gary has made me famous in this town. You know? The other night, a lady asked me. She said, "Hey, you had breakfast, pizza for breakfast." So I said, "How do you know?" She said, "Gary told me." So if you want to know anything about me, just come ask Gary. And thank you everybody for coming here on this cold day. And I'm a bit nervous, as you can see I'm shaking. And I would like to read the first chapter of the book, and that will probably launch you into the book, and then you can ask me questions, and we can go on from there. So as you know, this is when I first came to the United States, I worked in sales, in retail, something like this store, and I wore pretty much like this with a light blue shirt, and I worked full time, and I sold electronic stuff, cables, wires, batteries, cameras, camcorders, iPods, metal detectors, radar detectors, race scanners, stuff that I didn't know existed to people in Virginia. And so this is my observation on the sales floor. Counting hundreds of dollar bills, rolls of quarters, dimes, nickels, and fistful of loose change correctly was turning out to be a daunting task. As the clock ticked along, the store phone rang. I answered. "Hey, listen, I'm coming to Charlottesville right now. Could you tell me where you guys located at?" Someone spoke in a strangled tongue. "Yes, sir, we're in the mall. I'll be there soon." It was 8 o'clock at night. Electronics Hut was supposed to close at 9. The lights from the flat screen TVs skipped on the walls and the gray carpet floor. Jazz played on home theater system. I stood in the middle of the store, leaning on the counter under the bright fluorescent lights, and looked at everything that surrounded me. radios, antennas, cameras, cables, routers, scanners, printers, computers, and speakers. I was the person in charge of everything in the store for the next hour. Cindy, my boss, a short-haired blonde with average build, big eyes, left a few minutes ago telling me, "I'm going home. You'll close today." She knew I wasn't comfortable with the idea. "You need to learn to start closing the store on your own. You've been here long enough," she told me. "Have a good night. You'll be fine." Tonight was my first closing shift on my own. I felt nervous. Nervous about not being able to answer a customer's question, not being able to find a product, not being able to handle an irate shopper. Also, I was not sure about counting the money in the cash register at the end of the day. Being responsible for someone else's money made me nervous in general, but being responsible for counting American money, matching the total in the cash register to the one on the computer, and taking thousands of dollars of cash to the bank at night made my misery 100 times worse. I had recently arrived in the United States from India and I was still learning American ways. People rolled their eyes when I stared at the coins in my hand, trying to tell a dime from a nickel in an effort to come up with the right change for a donut at a coffee shop. Embarrassed, I put the whole chunk of change on the counter and let the cashier pick. A few minutes later, a man wearing a checkered flannel shirt and a pair of light blue jeans walked in with a crumpled plastic bag in his hand. He set it on the counter and pulled out a telephone answering machine. "It don't work no more. I want my money back," he said in a gruff tone. I knew from his voice that he was the one who had called a few minutes ago. The machine looked worn out. There was no box for it. I asked him if he had the receipt. He pulled out a slip. The print was barely readable. I checked to see the date of the purchase. The machine had been bought 7 months ago. "Sir, I'm sorry, but I cannot give you the money back. This is past the return period." "Are you shitting me? You are supposed to work for a long period of time, not just a few months. Come on, man. Give my money back," he barked. I didn't know how to react. He reeked of alcohol. He was solidly built with rough, stubby knuckles. He seemed to be in his mid-30s but had several teeth missing. Numerous thoughts flashed my mind. In my last job in India, if someone wanted to see me at work, they first had to go through the security guard outside the building. Then, if the guard thought it was okay, he would let them into the receptionist, who would in turn let me know there was a visitor. Someone who stank of alcohol and talked in an abusive manner would have never gotten past the burly guard. But I was not in India. I was standing in front of a drunken man in America, and he was being rude and asking for his money back for something well past the return date. 7 months ago, when he had purchased the machine, I had no idea that I'd be dealing with an asinine man in Virginia over a product that I didn't know existed. A part of me wanted to toss his answering machine out the door, rip the sales receipt into pieces and shove it into his mouth. But my job was to treat this guy with respect, talk to him in a professional manner, and at the same time not agree to return his money. If I tried to raise my voice, there was a good chance that the customer could hurt me, even pull a gun. If I gave him money back, it was likely that I could lose my job. I took a deep breath and said, "Sir, I'm very sorry, but I can't return your money." He gave me a cold stare with his hazel eyes and said, "How many gas wells do you own?" I said, "Excuse me?" "Tell me, how many gas wells do you own?" This was the first time someone had ever asked me whether I owned gas wells. I didn't even know what that meant. What did the answering machine have to do with the gas wells? I didn't have the faintest clue. I saw saliva frothing around the corner of his quivering lips. It didn't seem like he was going to leave the store without giving me a hard time. "Let me talk to your manager," he cried. "She's gone for the night, but she'll be here tomorrow," I said. He turned around and stomped his feet and let out a few expletives. Then he grabbed a pen from the counter and looked at me, at my name tag, and wrote my first name down. "What's the full name?" "Deepak Singh." "I'll be back tomorrow." He pointed at me with the pen. "Sure," I said. He put the machine back in the plastic bag and left. A little after 9, I locked the door to make sure the day was over. By the time I got home, it was almost 10. My wife and I ate dinner in silence. I could tell she knew I was upset about something, and that I didn't want to talk. Just when I lay on the bed, I closed my eyes. My house phone rang. It was about 11 p.m. No one called me at that time of night except my parents from India. I answered the phone. To my surprise, it was Cindy, my boss. "Deepak, sorry to bother you at this time of the night, but do you know anything about Fallujah?" At first, I couldn't decide if I was dreaming about work or if it was really Cindy on the phone. She had called my home a few times to ask me to come in either or to work on my day off because someone else hadn't shown up, or to ask me where I kept a certain product or a document that she needed. It took me a few seconds for her question to register. I said, "What are you looking for, Cindy?" "Fallujah. Do you know where it is?" "Fallujah? No, I don't know, Cindy. But it sounds like it could be somewhere in the Middle East." She cackled and said, "I knew you would know." "Okay, but why do you ask?" "Oh, I'm sitting here watching Fox News and they're talking about a suicide bomber who blew himself up in a busy market there." I kept silent. "Hello, you there?" I said, "Yes. Anyway, I'll let you sleep. Oh, by the way, how did the last hour go at the store?" She said, "Do you mind if we talk tomorrow, Cindy? I'm tired." I laid back in the bed and closed my eyes and tried to imagine what it might be like for an average American to work in a retail store in a foreign land without a good grasp of the local language or accent. I tried to picture an educated American working in a corner store in a small town, India, selling turmeric, cardamom, cloves, aniseed, peppercorn, cinnamon, fenugreek, mustard, coriander, sap. And what if this was the only job he could get, even if he had no experience or desire for it, but couldn't quit and return home? How would he fare? How would people treat him? Then I thought of the time back in Lucknow when a white American friend of mine asked a cycle rickshaw puller to let him pedal it for a short time. He did that because it was exotic and fun. People stopped to gape at the tourist, a tall man with long hair pedaling a cycle rickshaw in the place of a scrawny, dark-skinned Indian man. For my friend, it was an adventure of sorts, but the poor Indian man carried people around town, rain or shine, to make sure his family could eat. I wished working in retail in America were fun and exotic, and only lasted for a few minutes, and that I didn't have to depend on it for a living. This was the first chapter. How can I help you?
I have this answering machine that
If any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I've got a question. I actually, by chance, have read the book.
Oh, good.
And I know you talk a lot in there about the caste system in India.
Yes.
And how you had sort of limited conversations, limited relationships with the people of lower caste who might provide services or work even for your family. And then you saw firsthand, we don't have a caste system per se, but we had people who were struggling, financially and having a lot of difficulties in their lives, and they might as well have been in a lower caste because they had limited
Right.
hope for improvement. I just wanted to know, you had a few years passed since working in the electronic store. Just wanted to know how your thoughts have evolved about caste system in India versus kind of poverty in America.
A great question, thank you. This is one of the, this has been 10 years since I did that job. But even while working, I realized that I was the guy working in the store, and I had the similar status the guy who came to clean my house back in India. So I realized, look, I never had to do this in India because I came from a privileged background, and relatively richer and educated family and bigger house and had servants coming and cleaning. But I never paid attention to people who came and cleaned and on a daily basis and cooked food at my home or drove, cycle rickshaws or whatever. But then here, it gave me a different perspective what it means to be poor and not have, opportunities and hope, and how people treat you when you are being treated like that yourself. And I felt frustrated, but I also couldn't do anything except to keep working. So it gave me a lot of empathy for the people who work minimum wage, trying to raise families on minimum wage, paying mortgages, paying childcare and transport, and does that answer your question?
Yes.
So yeah, I have, I cannot see the same people back home in the same way I did before I had moved to the United States. I have a lot of empathy, and I just cannot treat them the way I treated them before I'd come here. So what happens now is they also know that this guy has become soft, so they take advantage of me now.
Right.
Deepak,
Yeah.
I'd like you to elaborate on your feelings about Black Friday.
You must have read the book. Yeah, Black Friday was something like this. But when I worked on Black Friday, people didn't come and sit down calmly and looked at and listened. They were prowling in the store. They were going around, picking the stuff and filling their big bags with everything they could find. And they were also angry because they had eaten a lot of food the night before and drank a lot, so they reeked of alcohol and they were kind of groggy and they were easily irritable. So you have to be very nice to those people. At the same time, they didn't have to be nice to you. And they wanted everything, and they wanted, suppose if some small radio was on sale, they wanted all of them. Not just one, but one person wanted all of them because they could hoard all of them and give it to Christmas gift or something. So that was a problem because there were fights breaking between the customers. But no, you cannot have all of them, And so it was quite a lot of commotion.
So you do go shopping on
I couldn't when I worked because I was working, but I have gone shopping. Yeah. And also, because I worked there, so I knew what was going to be on sale, so I made sure that I saved some good stuff for me. Asan question,
Yeah. So I'm like an international student, right, at Bowdoin, and this is my 4th year. And when I first came to Bowdoin, this is my first time in the country, and I kind of found out how Americans kind of love hearing foreigners talk about America. It gives them endless amount of amusement for like a bewildered foreigner to explain American customs, and in a way you're doing it right now. And so I was wondering, and what I started doing often was I would resort to that because they would not be able to understand what I'm saying if I'm trying to and I would resort to being that bumbling idiot and and act in a way that I felt would give me some sort of approval or people would want to engage with me. And I wonder if you felt that way, and how do you feel like you feel now writing about America and then talking about it to other Americans,
Good question, very good question. Question I was not expecting, but you're right about this because it takes a very special kind of American to see you make fun of them, right? I work in Virginia, and a lot of people from rural Virginia who came, and they would not take that kind of joke.
Right.
So, if you know it's okay to be made fun of, you would make fun of. But if you also have to be careful. You cannot go around in Lucknow and some Hindu families living in rural and make fun of Indian gods, right? I mean, they would retaliate. But if you are a Hindu but also educated, you can make fun of Indian gods and they would laugh with you because they know it's okay. So similar situation here. I mean, depends who you're talking to. But sorry, I don't know if I got your question right, but I find myself doing that. I can do because I've dwelled in 2 different classes here in America because I've lived all my life on college campuses. So most of my friends are professors, some kind of academics, but I've also have a lot of family in rural Pennsylvania, Virginia, all of those places. I've seen both sides, so you have to watch who you're talking to. Is that a good answer?
Deepak, has the employment situation changed for people from India coming now that obviously we hire a ton of software engineers and tech people from India, physicians and others? Has that changed in this country, Bill?
I think, I'm not a software engineer. I've never been a software engineer. But
No, I know you're not.
No, but you're right. But a lot of people who work in computer engineering or software development, they have jobs. I've never seen any of my software engineers not have jobs.
Right.
If they don't have jobs here, they go back to India because they come here on shorter, small visas to work, and when they're done, they go back to India and go back to their jobs in India. But I've never had a job. I'm a writer, so it's been bad for me ever since. I don't know.